So, kicking off the morning with another viewer submission, like we are known to do. So, we've got some Lucian Ephemerals here. Lucian, a champion that pairs very well with ephemeral units. So, we've got a 3-2 for 2 with quick attack that levels when he's seen 4 plus allies die or Senna Sentinel of Light. This deck is notably not playing Senna, so we are just focusing on having 4 allies die. His leveled mode says each round, the first time an ally dies, rally, which means you get another attack token. So if you have one of your units die in combat on your turn, you get a second combat. If you have a unit die on their turn in combat, you get a first attack. And then he also has double attack, so he hits twice while attacking. So leveled Lucian ends the game very, very quickly when he gets leveled up. John Bruno, thanks for the 26 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Ephemerals in this deck's name refers to the mechanic in Runeterra, for those not familiar, that says when a unit with that's ephemeral dies or strikes, or dies when it strikes or when the round ends. So Shark Chariot is kind of one of the ephemeral payoffs in Runeterra. It's a 3-1 for 2 that every time you attack with another ephemeral ally, it revives the Shark Chariot attacking. The other ephemeral payoff in Runeterra is Hecarim here. So he's a 5-5 for 6 with Overwhelm here, so he's tough to block. When he attacks, he summons 2 Spectral Riders, which are ephemeral, and then he levels up when he's seen you attack with a bunch of ephemeral things, and then his leveled mode makes all ephemeral allies gain +3 attack. So this is a payoff at the top end of the curve. Notably, he does not have to see you attack with ephemeral allies, so you can play Hecarim leveled in the mid to late game if you've been attacking with a bunch of ephemeral things before you get him down, and immediately have a giant monster here and beat down the opponent. So the rest of the deck is just kind of good Shadow Isle stuff. We've got Cursed Keeper paired with things that sacrifice it, like Ravenous Butcher. Got some Glimpse of the Beyonds. One thing that's notably missing from this list that feels kind of suspect is what's the 3-drop called again? Bladed Caretaker is notably excluded from the list, which feels strange alongside Cursed Keeper. We're gonna start without Bladed Caretaker, but this card has consistently been one of the best cards in this style of archetype when we've played it in the past, so this is a card I want to keep on my mind after we play a few games if we want to fit some Caretakers in. So let's go ahead and dive on into some games here and see how this goes. I had to 7 wins in the Gauntlet yesterday, playing 2 decks, Scouts, and Trundle Bundle. My 3rd deck was Nightfall Aggro, and I didn't play it. Nice. Yeah, there were a lot of people. When we played our set yesterday, I kind of made a point to try and play each of the different decks that I was playing at least once, but there were definitely a lot of people who, like, they only submitted 2 decks they actually wanted to play, and they just played whichever one didn't get banned each round. So opponent is playing Leona Oriensol, so probably something going a little bit bigger with Asol in it. I'm gonna mulligan everything but the Ravenous Butcher here, I think. Looking for an aggressive curve. I think I am actually going to Shark Chariot into Ravenous Butcher here. And I think we're actually going to Fading Memories the Shark Chariot. Swing low, Shark Chariot, come along to carry me home. That's a good one. Whenever you summon an ephemeral ally, grant it +1/+1. What on God's green earth is our opponent doing, huh? Okay, I think I'm starting with that. We'll go this, into this, into this. I didn't want to lead on Shark Chariot here, because if I lead on Shark Chariot and they Leona me, I'd be really sad. I am open to ideas on other emotes we could try over some of the existing magic stuff, yeah. Feel free to offer up suggestions.
Death comes. Believe or burn.
Oh. This is boding very well so far. Been writing a memo at work about changes to election laws due to COVID. Interesting that all our adjustments that revert January 1st seems optimistic. Ain't that the truth? Seems optimistic basically sums up all of the Trump administration's feelings about things related to COVID. Okay, so Shark Chariots are coming back as 4s, but if they come back as 4s, they're going to 13 here. They get to block one of these. I think this is fine, right? We just do this. I guess I don't really care where that goes then, if that's the plan. There's only 2 sharks because one of them got hushed.
You are beneath me.
Well, the game's not just over because we could draw a Hecarim, but we're probably dead at this point. Judgment's a rough one. Our opponent played Judgment, which makes one of their allies strike everything that I have for 8 mana. And they struck them all with a lifesteal unit, which means they gained 4 times the number of things in play, but you max out at 20 in this game. I mean, if we could draw an Ephemeral unit, we get a couple of sharks back and maybe have a shot, like Hecarim leveled. Alright. So, like, if they can't kill Hecarim here, or stun him, okay, so they stun him, so we're dead. So I guess I technically have chump blocks next turn, but, like, really needed this one draw sooner, so that way we could open on attacks with it to play around something like this. Okay. Morning amp. That'll do, pig. That'll do. Yeah, the last couple of times we've tried this archetype a few times on stream, and the one that felt the most competitive when we played it in the past was a build with an Iona Splash, so that way we could play was a build with an Iona Splash to notably play the Deathmark card to take Ephemeral off of your things and transfer it over as a removal spell, basically. Hecarim. Hecarim's a card that, like, is sweet-ish, but, like, feels like it's, like, just too expensive to be competitive a lot of the time in terms of mana cost.
Winter take you.
Oh, thanks. Mornings have been hectic here. I keep getting started slightly late and then forgetting to do that.
It's playtime.
Yeah, that's the variation we had played before Mary Pringles that felt good. I agree. We get to go a little bit bigger. I think we're just doing this in Shark Chariot this turn and getting a hit in. Hoping that the points of damage from Prankster here can add up nicely. Opponent's playing Ash Sejani, so they don't really have life gain in their deck, so if we could just pressure them out of the game, that would be ideal.
Tread carefully.
What's going on, Draconis? Yeah, game. It turns out your hobbies are more fun when you're playing them because you enjoy them, or doing them because you enjoy them, not because you feel pot committed and obligated to engage with them. I would bet a lot of Magic players have an incredibly toxic relationship with Magic and just don't realize it at this point.
Sharpen the blades, secure
And that's
kill.
not to say that all of them do, but I would bet a significant number of them do.
Took the bait.
I'll cut them apart.
So they're gonna hook my O3 here. We'll get to play a Remembrance here at least. You know what? Maybe I'm supposed to Fading Memories that. Yeah, that might be a mistake. Yeah, and honestly, you know, just because of all of the psychological stuff that goes into a game like Arena, I think it's even easier to have a toxic relationship with Arena than it is to have with Magic in general, because Arena and games like it are designed in a lot of ways to keep you locked into playing even when you're not enjoying it by design.
We fight for one Freljord.
Alright, so I think the plan here is get in with some sharks, and then leave this back on defense. And then next turn we can play this, and the following turn we can do this and get in there. How many sharks is too many sharks? I don't know.
Tread carefully. Stand and defend.
Either don't realize it or have too much sunk cost to get out of it. Yeah, something like that. I'd say sunk cost is similar to realizing, not realizing. Seven is the answer. That's true. Seven means you have too many. Them being super defensive there is good for us.
All the world on one arrow. Show me a target.
I agree, Lorden. There's a reason why that was the why the Kench deck was the Ash deck I elected to play. in my gauntlet yesterday. I concur with you that I think it's the best Ash variation.
Hold back the darkness.
Hide, thank you for the 7 months of support. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. And like losing this here is kind of whatever. I need to block anyways to not die. Oh, we actually technically don't lose it. That works out. Right, because this is tough. Deal. Alright. Are our sharks and back-to-back enough to drag us across the finish line here? Ash Kench has no synergy. Seriously? Was that a thing someone said? Those two things have an incredible amount of synergy.
These are our lands.
This is our homeland. They won't pass.
Yeah, we're gonna be short here, unfortunately. Are there any outs we can draw to? Not really, right? Guess we'll find out. Well, combat's happening here, right? So, 2 games in a row of like aggressive-ish starts that then kind of sputtered out in the mid-game and weren't quite enough to drag us across the finish line. Alright, some pirate aggro, eh? Mulligan the back-to-back. We're going to keep Lucian with Prankster and an enabler to get Lucian leveled. Although, it might be, like, and this is going to be the tough part too, right? So, like, this is an aggro mirror. So, like, are we going to be in a position in this matchup to be able to be attacking defensively? Because one of the tough parts too with this style of archetype is our ephemeral units don't play defense well, right? So, we're, like, hoping that our aggression can just keep them on the back foot. And that seems like a tall order against how good their deck is.
This is mercy.
You have Harrowing in this deck to Slam the Door. I don't think Harrowing would have solved any of the problems we've had so far. I think Harrowing kind of looks like, I think that's kind of a different deck. I think I'm just playing Vanguard Redeemer here as a 3/3.
Today we turn the tide of war.
Feels a little bad to not get the cantrip off it, but I think I definitely need to trade off here. I think I'm taking this hit because I want to try and level this up, but I prefer he doesn't die to make it ring next turn. I realize I get physical anxiety at the thought of uninstalling Arena and losing my value, and I think that that's proof enough. Yeah. And I mean, like, honestly, just like, again, the amount different I felt a week later was like, it's like, oh yeah, this is a good change.
War Mason, reporting for duty. Make the Empire proud.
We're actually gonna play, so we're gonna play a different Shadow Isles Demacia deck featuring Vault after this, and it's a Hecarim, deck, or a Hecarim, whatever that card's called, Harrowing deck. Yeah, Philosopher Jake. In fact, we've been streaming a number of Switch games. We've been playing Zelda Breath of the Wild on Sunday nights, and the couple of Hades segments that I've done were on the Switch. So yeah, I've got a capture card set up.
I'll bring them peace.
For PS5, would I play single-player action games? A majority of what I intend to play on the PlayStation is single-player action games. The only competitive style games I really enjoy playing these days are turn-based card games, things like this. Pretty over the idea of playing like Twitch shooters. Hey, Scissor. Thanks for the sub gift. I appreciate that. Good morning. All right, so I think I'm trading this here, and that gives me.
Go ahead. Scare me.
If I do this, we get to rally, which I think is good. Hey, Willem. Thank you for the 32 months of support. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me around. BioShock's not a Twitch shooter, Milo. When I say Twitch shooter, I mean things like Overwatch, Counter-Strike, what's the new Riot one? Valorant. Those are Twitch shooters. Yeah, Apex Legends, Fortnite. Yeah, maybe Fortnite doesn't qualify. There's a building aspect to that, but those are the types of games I'm referring to when I say Twitch shooter. Yeah, competitive shooters are Twitch shooters. Does Fortnite count as a Twitch shooter? We get burned out in response here. It'll be interesting to see if they touch the noxious aggro decks in the next patch. There was a metagame snapshot posted based on the data pulled from Mobalytics after the first week, and the noxious aggro decks had the highest win rates in the data sample, and it wasn't particularly close. Mulliganing these two, looking for some other cheap things to fill out like Shark Chariots or Lucians. Yeah, so the important thing to acknowledge about that those snapshots is if you look at all of the top 9 decks, they all had above 50% win rates. So, like, you got to remember that while the Mobalytics data is an okay sample size and it's nice to look at, it's not a complete data set. It has what we refer to as selection bias, in that the people that you're getting the data from are only the ones offering it, so you don't have a super balanced sample. Nah, I don't, so this is a compliment when it comes to Runeterra, but I don't think and this is something that I'm excited, one of the reasons why I'm excited to see how Runeterra develops too overall, is that Runeterra's current constructed format feels much closer to something like Modern than it does to something like Standard when comparing it to Magic formats, in that because Runeterra doesn't power creep their cards to sell you shitty loot boxes, the formats don't get turned on their head and invalidate things. So like, as Runeterra's adding more cards to their game, they're not just throwing other archetypes in the garbage can, they're just adding more competitive archetypes. So like, for example, the pirate aggro deck was good before the previous set. So like, it's not really like this is just new format type thing, because it's like not really a new format so much as it's just expanded and there's more choices in it now. And I think that's really great. Like, speaking as someone who's like played a ton of Magic, like Magic's non-rotating formats where you can like find a deck you love, where you like find a deck you love and get to play it for, you know, ever potentially, is like what a lot of people like about card games. The Mobalytics pulls its data from the API. It does not currently. Riot recently announced some potential integrations with their API that could change how Mobalytics pulls some of their data, but currently the data on Mobalytics that's up there is from them, is from people using their deck tracker installed. Sure. I'll be exploring Singleton. Can we play Singleton before the Gauntlet? I guess is my question.
Our ancestors are
I didn't think we could, but I'm also ignorant, so. Subscribing once more before the world ends or begins. Thanks for the 10 months, Dr. Brew.
We will not hesitate.
Oh, attack you with the 2-3 is free, right? Yeah. No, well, no, because we have the shark coming back. It was like, wait, you confused me. And then I was like, oh, wait, no, we're good. I had a reason for what I did. Yeah, at some point, Wylar, I believe, Riot wants to share more data, but they're still working on the technological backend to share it via the API in an elegant manner. Do you have any suggestions for fun Fizz decks? Yeah, Juka, if you haven't seen the Twisted Fizz deck that's up on my site, I think that's definitely one of the best Fizz decks. It's my favorite too, especially.
Many tribes under one banner.
Hecarim is a great draw here. So, Hecarim summons two things, then we also summon a shark. I did, Jin. We might make a point to make one of our variety evenings a Hex Night before the end of the year, just for old time's sake. Alright, do they have Vengeance here for Hecky Boy? Limit the API because of an unfair advantage in match. I mean, they basically just need to, what's the word I'm searching for? They need to anonymize the data then, basically, right? So you can't just, like, look up your opponent's name and see what they had recently been playing. Is all that needs to happen. Actually, so, as someone who would be a big proponent of open deck lists in Magic the Gathering, I actually don't really think we need open deck lists in Runeterra, because I think showing your opponent showing the other person your, the regions and champions mitigates a lot of the concerns that I have for other reasons. Mirror the Shark Chariot. That's an okay thought. It's probably a fine idea. We were lucky and drew one, but
Follow my blade.
yeah, believe it. That was funny. I think Pelly put it best. Believe it or not, the company that treats their player base poorly also treats their business partners poorly. For people that don't follow me on Twitter, anyone like me who grew up playing or grew up reading Dragonlance novels, the original authors of that series are currently locked in a lawsuit with Wizards of the Coast to be able to publish new books.
There's a chill in the air.
There's a link on my Twitter if you would like more information than that. This is unfortunate. This puts them up to 5. Yeah, I'd probably rather have an ephemeral one of these, right? So we can gain some life.
I fight for the fallen. My sword is yours to command.
And then this is ephemeral, so she's coming back already anyways. They're conceding, sure, yeah. All right, we're on the scoreboard, champ. We're on the scoreboard. Slow and steady. Alright, so I'm gonna mulligan back to back here, I think, and probably Fading Memories. I think I'm actually gonna keep the Remembrance here, and this will probably just be a turn 3 Remembrance on the play game. Does that change my mind? That might change my mind.
Afraid. Just a wee bit late.
Hey, morning pickle. Yeah, the new God of War is gonna be a PS5 title, right? So I'm planning to do a bunch of different PS5 stuff. I've got one of those on. Got one of those on pre-order. Did a gauntlet with your Tom Kench Ash deck yesterday, and it was never banned, so I played it 8 times to 7-1. Nice, Darehulk. I think that build's super reasonable. Ash Kench. Yeah, the PS5 is supposed to be backwards compatible with a lot of PlayStation 1 games. Or PlayStation 4 games. Would you like to trade your box topus for...
No more of your crap suit, lassie, please. It's that soap. You've been drinking this?
It's playtime.
And for people that are ragging on and discussing Wizards issues in chat, let's move off of that from today. Part of the reason I've moved off of Magic is because I want to move away from talking about the stupid and bad decisions Wizards of the Coast has made. Life would be happier for you too if you just stopped thinking about it and just played games made by companies that don't make correct decisions constantly. Hook Pablo so they can't hook Caretaker. Yeah, maybe that's a good idea.
Table for one, if you'd oblige.
If you'd oblige.
On you then.
Probably just want to get Hecarim down so we can open attacks next turn.
So what's in store for me, Nemo? I need time for commute.
They didn't hook my O3. Deal. Mental health is better when you don't focus on things you can't control. Yep. Turns out that is very, very true. I mean, there's a lot of real life things you definitely can't control that you have to focus on, but like what video games you play is definitely one of them that you can control, right? So like if your hobby that is supposed to bring you joy in your spare time is one of the things causing you pain, like drop that hobby like a rock. How does this work? All right, I thought so.
Plenty of room inside.
Maybe our opponent's new and doesn't know how their deck works. Okay. I mean, you know, stuff happens.
There's always room for supper.
There's always room for supper. Bib, good morning to you. Thank you for the support. I appreciate it.
Death follow me, or peace.
Thanks for keeping me around. Nope. Nope, still temporarily silenced.
I'm sure there's something for my taste.
Thanks, Bib. If I get to a point where the sub count drops low enough that it's not sustainable, I will very likely put a counter on stream so we can see if we can get it back above, but we're nowhere near in danger of that as of yet. I appreciate the support though nonetheless. I think I just let that happen and then just play another Hecarim out here, right?
Too late now.
Yeah, maybe I'm supposed to glimpse her. I don't know. Putting this to 1 toughness has value. I know they're going to heal it back a little bit, but they're not going to heal it back to full. I think I'm going to go ahead and glimpse here to start. That way I could go ahead and have a slightly bigger attack next turn. So, and honestly, it sounds like we're going to do better than MTG Melee supporting Runeterra Lorden. So if you haven't been keeping up on Runeterra news, Runeterra announced that they're going to have full in-client tournament support for their seasonal tournaments, and their announced plans are they eventually plan to extend support to that to the community at large. So eventually we'll just be able to run Hoaglandia tournaments in client. MTG Melee. MTG Melee is a third-party website that we use to run community Magic the Gathering tournaments through. All right, that felt really easy and clean. I would not be surprised if this Soraka Kench deck is one that ends up going away a little bit. It definitely feels like it's primarily being played because it's new and shiny, and not because it has staying power. I feel like as the novelty wears off of that, it'll become less popular. Yeah, flavor of the month. Similar to how, like, the Oriental and, like, Daybreak and Nightfall decks. Nightfall's, like, still around the fringes a little bit, but, like, the Leona decks have largely fallen off. The Deep. I'm gonna keep a backup Lucian here. The novelty wore off for me after about 3 hours of losing. So, the what's it called deck, the Sakura Kench deck we were just talking about, had the largest sample size on the Mobilytics data sample, and at 4,000 plus games, it had a little over 50% win rate, which is, like, fine but not impressive, right?
Time to make some corn.
The deck is good against Lee in control. Like, sure, I believe that. I don't think having a good matchup against just that's enough to be competitive. So I think I'm going to go Stirred Spirits here. And then next turn we could go Cursed Keeper plus Shark Chariot. And this can pop this. Hey, thanks for the 2 months, Tyrico. I really appreciate the Prime support. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping me employed here. That archetype's really good at keeping Lee off the board, Martian. Because you have Hush, and you have lots of ways to eat it. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Lee needs to be more interactable. I also think the Noxious aggro decks probably need to be dialed back a little bit. I think they probably have a touch too much reach in them. And I wouldn't mind seeing that adjusted. I want a Cursed Keeper here. It might be right to get Lucian down just so we can start seeing Shark Chariots die. I did a gauntlet late last night and got 7 wins in the back of Lulu. Lulu deck you played a while back. Everyone kept banning Ash Ketchum. Yep. Well, to be fair, Shajara, you're talking about the Elder Scrolls card game that came out. The Elder Scrolls card game also wasn't an in-house product for Bethesda. That was a third party thing. That was made by Direwolf Digital.
Don't get in my way.
It wasn't in-house. That explains the lack of bugs. Alright, Hecky boy. I actually don't want to attack with this. I want the shark to come back here too. I've heard a lot about Gwent over the years. I've never actually played it though. How close to deep? Still pretty far off. I have 6 mana this turn though.
Must be cut away.
Witcher plus Breath of the Wild seems like overload. Yeah, I don't intend to start another long-form variety game until I finish either Horizon Zero Dawn or Breath of the Wild. The variety games I'm going to be taking between now and then will be games that we can, if they're story-driven games that are like less than like 15 hours of gameplay to play start to finish.
I deal in coins and carnage.
If I played Outer Wilds, we're going to play some Outer Wilds tomorrow. Did anyone put Portal 1 in there yet? They've not, but I think I'm going to put it on the sub-survey next week to see, or the variety game poll, to see if people are interested in seeing it played. I mean, like, so, like, and that's the other thing, whenever I bring up time limits, people always mention, like, oh, well, this game you can put X hours into. I'm not playing any of these games. I'm not 100%ing anything on stream, chat. Just for clarity's sake, nothing is getting 100%ed on stream. So, like, there are a lot of games that you can put hundreds of hours into, but, like, their main story is 10 to 15 hours. I mean, the main portion of what you play through. There's a lot of games that put grindy extras in to give you extra playtime, and that's nice, but that's not going to be my focus of what I do here. I'm going to hook this because it's the most toughness on any of their things. So that way this can potentially overwhelm for extra. Nice, Griffinson. Yeah, that one was definitely the deck that got banned the most for us when we played.
My while.
You bad. And they're still dead to Mr. Chariot here, plus triggers from Phantom Prankster. Swing low, Shark Chariot. Come along to carry me home. I feel like the deep is gonna end up on the list of things that they need to power level increase at some point. Definitely feels like with the addition of Targon, that archetype's thing it's good at doing has fallen off. It's just not the go biggiest deck anymore, and it kind of feels like it either needs to reestablish that identity or find a new one. Can you go over the top of Orient Sol? No, I don't think you can. But like, it isn't even just Orient Sol that's like keeping the deep back, because like there aren't that many Asol decks in the format right now either.
Push back the darkness. For the homestead.
What are the easiest mistakes or traps you find yourself making in this game? Definitely not taking enough time to think through permutations in combat. The amount of different things you can do in any given combat are really, really high. Could they revert the nerf to Dredgers? That was a 2-1 at one point, right?
Bring in the heat.
I forget. They definitely had a different stat line when I started playing. Yeah. I mean, it definitely made sense at the time, SC. Context is key. Ooh. A Nivea Vault, you say? The idea in chat that they could change the number of cards required for you to get deep is also an interesting one. That could be an avenue they explore as well. What decks do you recommend I use while I grow my collection? Well, Pirate Aggro is the established best deck in the format right now.
Make way for troll.
I think that's the objectively true case at the moment. If you're looking for my personal favorite decks, I have a number of Runeterra decks up on my website that I think are both competitive and fun. There's current deck lists for them up there, as well as a video of me playing each of them, so you can get a feel for what the deck looks like before you decide if you want to invest resources into crafting it. The chat rules for links are very simple. Act like an adult, you'll be treated like an adult. Act like a child, you'll be treated like a child. Kind of a shark, right? Couldn't remember. There's been a lot of games. So, again, ordering and combat mattering. We want to order our ephemeral units first, so that way these die and level up Lucian, which will give him double attack. Oh, this is gonna trade with him. That's awkward.
I'll bring them peace.
I think that's fine. This lets me double remembrance. Yeah, I have another Lucian here too. I think this trade is good for us. I get to like make 2 5-drops for 2 mana. And then like next turn I can go Lucian, glimpse this, attack you. What's the command for the timeout song? I don't know offhand. Hey, Kakatar, thanks for the sub gifty. I appreciate it. Hope you're having a good one wherever you're at. This card's kind of cute in their deck. Whenever an ally dies, refill your spell mana.
Something ancient stirs.
Something ancient stirs. So this deals 1 to everything when it attacks. That's still pretty okay for us.
You can see the Damascian border from here. There's a chill in the air.
How's this deck felt so far? I've had mixed emotions on it. It's good at beating the deep, which we beat our last 2 games. But I think good at beating the deep classifies a lot of decks right now.
Winter take you.
Huh? Is it too aggressive to butcher this one, since it has no power this turn? I should probably just kill this one, right? That's close.
For my homeland.
So if they attack with this, I'm gonna go ahead and block with Abomination.
Look out for reavers.
I was about to say, is Lucia gonna die here? Otherwise you're dead. It's a little sad, but not the end of the world. To stop their game 3 here at least.
Tomorrow we rise anew.
And this importantly means that they're not getting a 7-drop next turn, which is nice. But I want to bank spell mana here. So we'll go up to 7 total mana. I'd go up to 10. I don't think going up to 10 really has value, so I think I'd rather just play Cursed Keeper.
safeguard our homes.
Okay, if they attack with that, we trade, then they lose their egg to the vault next turn. Which is a pretty okay exchange for us, I think.
Light the signal fires.
Opponent does not have sweeper mana up here, notably aside from Avalanche. No Ruination or Icequake this turn.
Join the conflagration.
And they're exactly dead here, right? Nope, they go to 1 with these blocks. Alright, so they're gonna get a Tryndamere next turn, most likely off this Rekindler, but again, I think that's fine. We're going to drop Prankster into play. Oh, their Trin's in their hand, so that's good to know. Seems not great for them. Nah, we're not really doing magic stuff right now, Thunder. We're off magic on this channel, focusing on other things. See, exclamation point update for news on that.
I smell a fight.
Alright, so they're dead. Spectral Riders from here, we'll kill them with Trickster. Prankster. What's my favorite deck this season right now? Probably the Leona Assault deck I played yesterday. We're gonna have a dedicated session of that on stream later this week, but it's what I've been playing off stream the most. Any new dragons in it? Yeah, it plays Eclipse Dragon alongside Oriensol, because if you only play Eclipse Dragon and Oriensol, the draw 2 differently named dragons guarantees you get turn 8 Oriensol, which is very good. This matchup's probably real bad. I want to mulligan my little things that they're going to eat easily. No, I was never playing that card, Draconis. You're probably thinking of a different deck. Yeah, there's a lot of decks up on my Mobalytics page. We go through 2 to 3 things a day here on stream a lot of the time. Wish I could like Targan. For me, it's about as fun to play as Cement Ramp. I think the target cards are super flexible. I like that.
Always too
I like that style a lot.
We weren't expecting callers.
I'm never try me.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna go Fleet Feather, Stirred Spirits here, and then Stirred Spirits can make one of these a 4/1 to hook into her at least.
Nothing to hold me back.
He said before immediately abandoning that plan. So now the game plan is... I think we're just pressuring their life total. We'll go ahead and we'll hook this with a 2-1 and we'll make this a 4-1.
What will you have?
I'm just gonna concede. This matchup seems impossible. Try one more at least. I don't know. This archetype, I'm interested to see how this archetype compares to the one we have coming up next. Hecarim just always feels like a really awkward piece of top end in these decks. And this archetype definitely has a problem with its individual card quality being low. How often have we looked at 3-2-1 or 2-2-2 champion splits? You have to have a reason to do things like that, Draconis. So, like, for example, the Oriensol Leona deck that I'm talking about is a 3-2-1 champion split because you have the Dragon's Clutches or whatever it's called to draw Oriensol more consistently, so you just don't want 3 of them. Fiora feels really good against creature decks that don't feature Flash Freeze or Hush, specifically, is the key to Fiora being reasonable. And honestly, they also need to be small unit decks too. Like, things that have larger monsters also tend to be pretty reasonable against Fiora. Like, there's a reason why the previous opponent's archetype isn't an established, highly played deck. See, some amount of fringe play, but just fringe play for a reason. I mean, I don't even think I think that's even too simplistic TDM. Like, their deck's not good against us because we can't kill their alt win con. Their deck is good against ours because our deck's explicitly good at enabling their alt win con. Like, Fiora is something that needs to kill lots of little units, and our deck puts lots of little units into play for them to devour up. I think it's a little bit more nuanced than just, oh, we didn't kill their thing, so our deck didn't work. There's more to it than that.
Bring in the heat. Look out for Reavers.
That's unfortunate. Troll Chant. Troll Chant is real good.
For the homestead.
Come, the journey ahead is long.
Well, also an important thing to note, Label, is like, Fiora decks aren't all the same thing. So, like, for people that aren't familiar with the Runeterra metagame, the deck I just conceded against is a mono Fiora deck that's explicitly all in on the Fiora win condition and plays Frostbites and lots of extra cards to enable her. That archetype is very, very different from the Fiora Shen deck that sees some play, which plays Fiora, but I wouldn't describe it as an all-in Fiora deck, is an important distinction.
King of Trolls coming through.
Yeah, correct, guard the gray. No point in letting this hit Trundle, he regenerates. Might as well draw my cards. Yeah, Troll Chant's probably just one of, if not the best combat trick in the game. I guess it competes with Pale Cascade for that title.
Round we go.
Bow to your king.
Accept your fate.
I can jump with this, it deals 2 and it gets Lucian closer to leveling. So every turn, the Howling Abyss here creates my opponent a level 2 landmark. So Lucian needs to see one more, or level 2 champion, I said landmark, is a landmark that creates level 2 champions. So this dying not only deals 2 because of these, but also levels Lucian, which is great.
We're gonna need more coffins. It's always cold in the Freljord. One troll to rule 'em all.
For those of us that don't know League, can someone tell me what an ARAM is? Because I have no idea. All random, all mid game mode. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna be done with this one. I don't think I'm gonna take this archetype again. So we take one of our subs, and I appreciate their support, has sent this one in almost every season, and I feel like every time we play it, it's just kind of mediocre. Just like if you look at the cards that we're playing, our average card quality is kind of low. The Hecarim's just kind of clunky as a piece of aggressive top end. I am interested to see. I'm interested to see how this feels compared to the next deck we're gonna play. So the next deck we're gonna play is a different Hecarim deck. I'm gonna go ahead and take a second and flip over and get things uploaded to Mobile Elix really quick. When we get back in just a couple minutes, we're gonna play some Hecarim Vault here and see how this feels.